I've spent years investigating UFO encounters, but nothing prepared me for the Lerta Files. This alleged 1999 interview between a Swedish man and a reptilian being reads like a fever dream, yet millions believe it's real. Lerta claims her species evolved on Earth eons before humans, retreating underground as we expanded across the surface. She describes hidden cities, advanced technology, and a secret history of our planet. With 2025 UFO disclosure at historic levels and government transparency reports flooding the internet, I'm examining this polarizing document that refuses to fade from conspiracy culture. What makes this particular alien encounter so compelling? The answer starts with a mystery that's never been solved: the anonymous Swedish researcher's story. December 16, 1999, an anonymous Swedish researcher posts a document to conspiracy forums that would reshape reptilian theory forever. He claims he spent 3 hours interviewing a being called Lerta in a cabin north of Stockholm. The researcher provides no name, no credentials, no audio recordings, no photographs, just words on a screen and a promise that everything happened exactly as described. This pattern of anonymous sources dominates UFO culture. Betty and Barney Hill gave their names, but countless others hide behind pseudonyms and deleted accounts. The Phoenix Lights witnesses spoke openly, yet the most compelling alien encounter stories often come from people who refuse to step forward. The anonymous Swedish researcher follows this template perfectly. He describes meeting Lerta through a friend identified only as EF, who supposedly maintained contact with her species for months before arranging the interview. The researcher's background remains completely obscured. He mentions being a skeptic before the encounter, a detail that appears in virtually every alien conversion narrative. He claims scientific training without specifying his field. He describes extensive preparation for the meeting without explaining how he prepared. Every personal detail that might allow verification gets carefully omitted or vaguely described. Christian Filer enters the story as the translator, converting the original Swedish text into English. Translation introduces inevitable interpretation layers. Filer's choices in word selection, sentence structure, and cultural context shape how English speakers understand Lerta's claims. The document acknowledges translation challenges, but provides no access to original Swedish text for comparison. This linguistic barrier creates another verification wall while simultaneously offering explanations for any inconsistencies readers might identify. The meeting location details reveal the researcher's attention to atmospheric elements. He describes a secluded cabin, winter conditions, and privacy precautions that prevented outside interference. These specifics create environmental authenticity without providing enough information for location verification. The cabin exists somewhere north of Stockholm, the meeting occurred during daylight hours, and security measures ensured no interruptions. Each detail supports the narrative while maintaining investigative opacity. The researcher's transformation from skeptic to believer follows predictable conversion patterns. He initially approached the meeting with scientific detachment, prepared to debunk another hoax. Lerta's knowledge and demeanor gradually convinced him of her authenticity. By the interview's conclusion, he accepted her extraordinary claims about reptilian civilization. This progression mirrors religious conversion narratives, moving from doubt through evidence to faith. His post-interview behavior reinforces the conversion theme. The researcher describes months of internal struggle before deciding to publish the transcript. He anticipates ridicule from the scientific community and acknowledges the document's controversial nature. Yet he feels compelled to share the information despite personal and professional risks. This reluctant witness stance adds credibility by suggesting the researcher has nothing to gain from fabrication. The absence of physical evidence paradoxically strengthens the narrative's appeal. Audio recordings could be analyzed for authenticity, photographs might reveal manipulation, and physical artifacts would face scientific scrutiny. The researcher explains that Lerta prohibited recording devices and refused to provide physical proof. This convenient explanation transforms evidentiary absence into narrative support. The lack of evidence becomes evidence itself, proving the encounter's authenticity through its very unprovability. Modern digital privacy concerns make anonymous sources more acceptable to contemporary audiences. Whistleblowers use secure communication channels, journalists protect source identities, and government leaks arrive through encrypted networks. The 2025 information landscape normalizes anonymous testimony in ways that 1999 internet culture couldn't imagine. The Swedish researcher's anonymity no longer seems suspicious, but rather prudent given potential retaliation from powerful interests. The document's structure reinforces its authenticity claims through procedural details. The researcher describes obtaining permission before asking certain questions, notes when Lerta seemed uncomfortable with topics, and includes her corrections to his misunderstandings. These conversational elements create interaction authenticity that pure exposition would lack. The interview reads like genuine dialogue rather than prepared monologue. Timestamps and session breaks add another authenticity layer. The researcher indicates when breaks occurred, mentions refreshments, and notes environmental changes during the 3-hour session. These mundane details ground the extraordinary claims in recognizable human experience. The conversation flows naturally between topics rather than following rigid, informational presentation. The researcher's claimed skepticism extends beyond simple disbelief to specific scientific objections. He questions Lerta's biological descriptions, challenges her historical claims, and requests clarification on technical details. These challenges demonstrate intellectual engagement rather than passive acceptance. The researcher positions himself as an active investigator rather than a credulous recipient of information. His emotional responses throughout the interview add psychological authenticity. The researcher describes feeling overwhelmed by certain revelations, surprised by Lerta's knowledge, and confused by concepts outside human experience. These emotional markers create human connection points for readers while suggesting genuine spontaneous reactions rather than scripted responses. The document's preservation and distribution through conspiracy forums establishes its grassroots authenticity. Major media outlets ignored the story, government agencies provided no comment, and academic institutions offered no analysis. The Lerta Files survived and spread through underground networks, giving them outsider credibility that mainstream endorsement might have compromised. The researcher's final decision to publish reflects the classic whistleblower dilemma. He weighs personal safety against public benefit, professional reputation against moral obligation. His ultimate choice to release the information despite risks demonstrates courage that fabricators rarely claim. The decision costs him nothing tangible, but positions him as someone willing to sacrifice for truth. The researcher's post-publication silence reinforces his authenticity claims. He provided no follow-up interviews, answered no questions, and offered no additional evidence. This communication pattern matches protection protocols for sensitive sources, while frustrating researchers seeking verification. His disappearance from public discourse becomes another form of evidence supporting the narrative's authenticity. The Swedish researcher's story creates perfect investigative immunity through systematic evidence elimination. Every verification path leads to dead ends, every credibility check encounters obstacles, and every authentication attempt meets resistance. This systematic unavailability transforms the document from questionable testimony into untouchable mythology. But the real fascination begins when examining what this mysterious interviewer claims to have witnessed during those 3 hours in that Swedish cabin. Lerta's physical description and biological claims. Lerta presents herself as a walking biological contradiction that somehow makes perfect sense to believers. She describes her body as fundamentally human in structure, with 2 arms, 2 legs, and proportions that mirror our own, yet every surface detail screams reptilian ancestry. Her skin appears green-beige with scattered brown dots creating patterns across her body. Her eyes feature larger black pupils surrounded by bright green irises, though she mentions males of her species have dark green irises instead. The ears sit smaller and rounder than human ears, positioned externally on her head. Her nose extends more pointed with a distinctive V-shaped curve between the nostrils, while her lips appear pale brown rather than pink. The dental structure reveals white, strong teeth that are notably sharper than human teeth, suggesting a carnivorous adaptation. Her hair grows greenish-brown, described as thicker and stronger than human hair, which immediately raises biological red flags. Reptiles don't produce hair through follicles like mammals do. This detail alone should collapse the entire narrative for anyone with basic biological knowledge, yet believers accept it as evidence of advanced reptilian evolution rather than fictional inconsistency. Scale-like structures cover her upper legs and arms, bridging the gap between mammalian and reptilian characteristics. Small, sharp horns project from the upside of both middle fingers, accompanied by gray fingernails that presumably serve defensive or practical purposes. These features create an intimidating yet somehow approachable appearance that balances threatening reptilian elements with familiar human proportions. The most elaborate biological claim involves her backplate system. A hard, bony structure runs along her spine from head to hip, covered in skin and tissue, but separate from her actual spinal column. This structure contains numerous nerves and blood vessels, making it extremely touch-sensitive. The plates regulate body temperature through exposure to sunlight, becoming more blood-filled when heated. Lerta describes this process as pleasurable, claiming that sunlight exposure raises her body temperature by 8 or 9 degrees within minutes, triggering enzyme and hormone production that creates euphoric sensations. Her normal body temperature ranges from 30 to 33 degrees Celsius, significantly lower than human body temperature. This detail aligns with known reptilian biology, where external heat sources regulate internal temperature. She enjoys swimming in warm water to achieve similar temperature elevation. The temperature dependency creates logical consistency with reptilian physiology, while explaining why her species might prefer underground environments with artificial heating systems. The reproductive method combines reptilian egg-laying with mammalian womb development in scientifically impossible ways. The embryo develops in protein liquid within the mother's womb, surrounded by a thin, egg-shaped chalk hull. The baby remains self-sufficient within this hull, connected to the backplates through a cord-like structure. During birth, the egg passes through the vagina, and the baby emerges from the soft shell. Newborns measure between 30 and 35 centimeters tall, suggesting rapid post-birth growth to reach adult proportions. Her dietary requirements include flesh, fruit, vegetables, and special fungi from subterranean farms. She emphasizes that her body needs proteins from flesh and cannot survive on purely vegetarian diets. She prefers cooked flesh and surface fruits like apples or oranges, suggesting taste preferences that mirror human cuisine choices. The dietary flexibility allows her species to adapt to various food sources while maintaining carnivorous requirements that align with reptilian biology. Clothing preferences reveal cultural adaptation strategies. Among humans, she wears standard human clothing despite finding it uncomfortable due to tightness restrictions. In her subterranean home or artificial sun areas, she and others typically remain naked. When appearing publicly with her species, she wears wide, soft clothing made from thin, light materials. The colors differ between sexes, suggesting cultural gender distinctions similar to human societies. Photography prohibition receives convenient explanation through cultural sensitivity claims. Lerta allegedly refused photographic documentation due to species protection concerns, though she provided extensive visual descriptions. This contradiction allows detailed physical descriptions while preventing verification through image analysis. The prohibition transforms evidence absence into narrative support, making the lack of photos proof of authenticity rather than fabrication. The biological detail overload serves as a persuasion technique rather than evidence. The overwhelming specificity creates false credibility through information density. Readers encounter so many biological details that questioning individual elements becomes exhausting. The complexity suggests expertise that fabricators supposedly couldn't achieve, though actual biological knowledge reveals numerous impossibilities. The hair-bearing reptilian characteristics represent the most glaring biological impossibility. Hair requires mammalian follicle structures that reptiles never developed. The narrative attempts to explain this through advanced evolution, but evolutionary biology doesn't support such dramatic physiological changes. The hair detail reveals fictional construction rather than biological reality. Temperature regulation through backplates mirrors known reptilian biology while adding impossible complexity. Real reptiles use behavioral thermoregulation through sun exposure, but they don't possess specialized plate structures with neural networks. The described system combines realistic reptilian needs with fictional anatomical solutions. The reproductive method's impossibility extends beyond simple biological mixing. Egg development requires specific chemical environments that mammalian wombs cannot provide. The chalk hull formation within mammalian tissue violates basic developmental biology principles. The cord connection to backplates creates fictional anatomy with no evolutionary precedent. These biological claims create perfect unfalsifiability through excessive complexity. Each system interconnects with others, making isolated testing impossible. The overwhelming detail prevents systematic debunking while creating false expertise through information density. The biological impossibilities masquerade as advanced evolution rather than fictional construction. But Lerta's physical description represents only the surface layer of her extraordinary claims about where her species actually lives and how they've remained hidden from human detection for millions of years. The underground civilization claims. Lerta describes underground cities that would make human metropolises look like small villages. She claims these subterranean settlements house millions of reptilian beings across multiple levels carved deep into the Earth's crust. The main colony sits approximately 2,500 meters below the surface, with artificial lighting systems that mimic sunlight. Multiple gravitational sources provide illumination throughout the tunnels and chambers, creating environments where her species can thrive without surface contact. The central building serves as a religious center, climate control hub, and lighting system regulator. Secondary structures branch outward like underground suburbs, each section specialized for different functions within their society. The logistics of maintaining such massive populations underground present impossible challenges that the narrative conveniently ignores. Ventilation systems would require enormous air exchange mechanisms to prevent carbon dioxide buildup from millions of inhabitants. Waste management for such populations would demand industrial-scale processing facilities that would generate detectable surface emissions. Food production would require vast underground agricultural systems with artificial lighting consuming enormous energy resources. Water supplies would need constant circulation and purification systems operating at city-scale capacity. The infrastructure demands alone would exceed the engineering capabilities of any known civilization. The artificial sun technology receives detailed description but lacks technical specificity. These gravitational light sources supposedly provide full-spectrum illumination that supports both reptilian physiology and underground agriculture. The energy requirements for such systems would be astronomical, demanding power generation capacity that would create detectable electromagnetic signatures. Nuclear reactors would produce radioactive waste requiring secure disposal. Geothermal systems would alter local temperature patterns in ways that geological surveys would identify. Solar collection systems would require surface installations that would be visible from orbit. No known energy source could power such massive operations without creating detectable environmental impacts. The underground claims align perfectly with hollow Earth theories that have fascinated humans for centuries. These narratives propose vast interior spaces within our planet, inhabited by advanced civilizations that developed separately from surface dwellers. The concept gained scientific credibility during the 17th and 18th centuries before geological knowledge disproved interior space theories. Modern Hollow Earth believers incorporate updated technology and scientific language while maintaining the core premise of hidden interior worlds. The Lerta Files tap into this established mythology while adding reptilian elements that merge with contemporary conspiracy theories. The social organization mirrors human civilization structures rather than alien alternatives. The described hierarchy includes leaders, workers, and specialized roles that closely resemble human governmental systems. Religious centers occupy prominent positions within each settlement, suggesting spiritual needs that parallel human psychological requirements. The naming conventions follow patterns similar to human cultures, with personal identifiers that reflect individual identity concepts. Trade relationships between colonies indicate economic systems that mirror human commercial development. These familiar organizational elements make the narrative more relatable while revealing its human origins. The convenient explanations for absent geological evidence create perfect investigative immunity. Deep drilling projects have penetrated far deeper than the claimed colony locations without discovering artificial structures. Seismic surveys map underground formations with precision that would detect large artificial chambers. Mining operations have explored extensive underground areas without encountering reptilian settlements. The narrative explains this absence by claiming the colonies exist in areas humans haven't explored, despite geological surveys covering most accessible underground regions. Advanced hiding technology allegedly conceals the settlements from human detection equipment. The underground setting serves as an unfalsifiable claim that cannot be easily disproven. Surface investigations can only probe limited depths, while deep exploration requires enormous resources and technical expertise. The narrative places colonies beyond current human reach while maintaining they exist within Earth's crust. This positioning creates investigative barriers that protect the claim from scientific scrutiny. The deeper the claimed locations, the more difficult verification becomes. The underground environment provides perfect cover for elaborate fictional civilizations that exist just beyond human verification capabilities. The population sizes described strain credibility even within the narrative's fictional framework. Millions of beings would require food production systems supporting enormous agricultural operations. Breeding populations would need genetic diversity maintenance programs preventing inbreeding depression. Housing construction would demand of excavation projects creating detectable surface disturbances. Transportation networks would require tunnel systems spanning continental distances. The mathematical requirements for sustaining such populations exceed the carrying capacity of underground environments even with advanced technology. The narrative taps into ancient human fears and fascinations with subterranean mysteries. Underground spaces represent the unknown depths beneath our feet, triggering primal anxieties about hidden dangers and buried secrets. Cave systems have housed human settlements throughout history, making underground civilizations psychologically plausible. The concept of creatures emerging from below connects to mythological traditions across cultures. Dragons, demons, and underworld beings populate folklore worldwide, establishing emotional frameworks for accepting underground reptilian narratives. The architectural descriptions borrow elements from human urban planning while adding alien characteristics. Wide tunnels accommodate transportation, needs similar to human highway systems. Specialized districts serve different functions like human city neighborhoods. Central gathering areas provide community spaces reflecting human social needs. The building materials supposedly use local stone and metals, creating structures that blend with natural underground formations. These architectural elements create familiar urban environments that readers can visualize while maintaining alien distinctiveness. The underground narrative creates perfect investigative immunity through systematic inaccessibility. Every verification method encounters technological barriers, geographical obstacles, or jurisdictional limitations. The claims exist just beyond current human capabilities while remaining theoretically possible with advanced technology. This positioning ensures the narrative's survival across decades of scientific advancement and investigative scrutiny. But these elaborate underground cities represent only the foundation for Lacerda's most audacious claims about how her species ancient Earth dominated Earth's alien war in the first place. Lacerda rewrites dinosaur extinction with a story that makes asteroid impact theory look tame. She claims the mass extinction event 65 million years ago resulted from an ancient war between humanoid aliens from Procyon and reptilian species from another dimension. This interstellar conflict supposedly took place in Earth's orbit and high atmosphere, with reptilian forces deploying a fusion bomb that wiped out the dinosaurs. The explosion occurred at a point she identifies as Middle America, creating environmental devastation that lasted for centuries. This narrative completely contradicts the established scientific consensus that attributes dinosaur extinction to an asteroid impact approximately 66 million years ago in the Yucatan Peninsula. The iridium layer found in geological formations worldwide provides crucial evidence for the asteroid impact theory. This layer appears at the boundary between the Cretaceous and Paleogene periods, rich in iridium that's rare on Earth but common in asteroids. Scientists interpret this global distribution as fallout from the asteroid impact that dispersed iridium across the planet. The Lerta Files ignore this compelling geological evidence entirely, offering no alternative explanation for the iridium layer's presence. Instead, the narrative focuses on fusion bomb effects that would produce completely different geological signatures than what researchers actually observe in rock formations. The described conflict between procyon humanoids and interdimensional reptilians centers on copper acquisition, revealing the narrative's technological obsessions. Lerta claims copper serves as a crucial material for advanced species because it can produce new stable elements when combined with unstable materials in high electromagnetic fields. She describes copper fusion with other elements in magnetic radiation field chambers that create force fields useful for various technological applications. This explanation contradicts known copper properties and physics principles, creating fictional science that sounds sophisticated but lacks scientific foundation. The fusion bomb deployment receives detailed description that attempts to rewrite nuclear physics. According to Lerta, the weapon detonated in ocean waters, producing unpredictable fusion reactions with hydrogen that created deadly radiation, overproduced fusion oxygen, scattered different elements across the globe, and triggered a nuclear winter lasting nearly 200 years. These effects don't align with known nuclear weapon consequences or geological records from the actual extinction event. Real nuclear explosions produce specific radiation patterns and environmental impacts that differ dramatically from the described scenarios. The claimed 200-year nuclear winter contradicts fossil evidence showing species survival patterns during the extinction event. While the asteroid impact did cause significant environmental changes, including darkness and cooling, the duration and severity described in the files exceed scientific findings. Fish and bird species survived the extinction event, which contradicts claims of prolonged nuclear winter that supposedly wiped out nearly all life. The geological record indicates shorter environmental disruption periods than the files suggest, with ecosystems beginning recovery within decades rather than centuries. These ancient war narratives conveniently explain both dinosaur extinction and reptilian evolution through a single catastrophic event. The story establishes reptilians as original Earth inhabitants who survived the conflict by retreating underground while surface life perished. This positioning creates legitimacy claims for reptilian species as native Terrans who lived on the planet for millions of years before humans appeared. The narrative transforms reptilians from invading aliens into displaced indigenous inhabitants with stronger Earth claims than humanity itself. The interdimensional origin story for reptilian species introduces concepts that lack scientific foundation. Lerta describes her species arriving from another bubble in the foam of the omniverse, a term that doesn't appear in established physics or cosmology. The omniverse concept and interdimensional travel lack scientific support, existing only in speculative fiction and fringe theories. These elements transform the narrative from alternative history into pure fantasy while maintaining pseudoscientific language that suggests legitimacy. The copper-focused conflict motivations reveal the narrative's technological fascination with specific materials. The files claim advanced species value copper for its ability to produce stable elements through electromagnetic manipulation and nuclear radiation exposure. This explanation creates fictional physics that sounds technical but contradicts known material properties. Copper doesn't possess the described capabilities for element transformation or force field generation. The emphasis on copper reflects science fiction tropes rather than actual metallurgical science. The ancient war story creates perfect investigative immunity through temporal distance and evidence elimination. Events occurring 65 million years ago exceed human historical records and direct observation capabilities. Geological evidence becomes the primary verification method, but the narrative explains evidence absence through war-related destruction rather than fictional construction. The extreme timeline prevents contemporary investigation while maintaining theoretical possibility for ancient technological conflicts. The environmental devastation descriptions exceed known extinction event impacts while maintaining global catastrophe scale. The files describe radiation effects, atmospheric changes, and climate disruption that surpass asteroid impact consequences. These exaggerated effects serve narrative purposes by justifying complete surface life elimination while explaining reptilian underground retreat. The amplified devastation creates dramatic storytelling elements that exceed scientific evidence requirements. The impossible verification aspect transforms the ancient war story into perfect conspiracy theory material. The 65 million year timeline prevents direct investigation while maintaining theoretical possibility for advanced civilizations. Archaeological evidence becomes the only verification method, but the narrative explains evidence absence through war-related destruction. The story exists in a verification dead zone where neither proof nor disproof remains possible, ensuring permanent survival in conspiracy culture regardless of scientific advancement. This grand mythology establishes reptilians as Earth's original inhabitants, while setting the stage for even more audacious claims about how other alien species would later arrive to fundamentally alter the planet's evolutionary trajectory. The Elohim and human genetic engineering. According to Lerta, the Elohim arrived from the Aldebaran solar system approximately 1.5 million years ago with a specific interest in Earth's primitive ape humanoids. The files state, the interest of this humanoid species, you call them Elohim today, was not the raw material in the copper, it were to our astonishment the unadvanced ape humanoids. This focus on genetic manipulation rather than resource extraction establishes a creation narrative that attempts to explain human technological advancement through external intervention rather than natural evolutionary processes. The slave race concept taps directly into existing ancient astronaut theories that have circulated for decades. Zecharia Sitchin's translations of Sumerian texts describe the Anunnaki creating humans to mine gold, establishing a template for alien genetic engineering narratives. The Lerta Files borrow this framework while adding reptilian observers to the story. The Elohim supposedly engineered early humans specifically for future conflicts, creating a warrior-worker hybrid that could serve their military needs. This narrative transforms humanity from naturally evolved beings into artificially constructed tools designed for alien purposes. The timeline problems become immediately apparent when comparing these claims to actual human evolution evidence. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, emerged approximately 300,000 years ago according to fossil records and genetic studies. The claimed 1.5 million year timeline places genetic manipulation during the era of Homo erectus, a species that lacked the cognitive capabilities described in the files. The narrative suggests the Elohim accelerated human evolution through multiple interventions, returning 7 times to enhance specific human groups. This intervention pattern attempts to explain evolutionary leaps that actually occurred through natural selection pressures over much longer periods. The genetic engineering explanations reveal fundamental misunderstandings of evolutionary biology and DNA manipulation. The files describe the Elohim modifying ape humanoid genetics to create modern human capabilities, but genetic engineering requires understanding of specific gene functions and protein synthesis. The described modifications would need to alter brain structure, cognitive processing, and physical capabilities in ways that exceed known genetic manipulation possibilities. The narrative treats genetic engineering like software programming, where aliens simply insert desired traits into primitive genetic code. The rapid evolutionary advancement claims ignore the complex biological processes that drive species change. Evolution operates through incremental modifications over thousands of generations, not sudden transformations within individual lifespans. The files suggest the Elohim compressed millions of years of natural evolution into much shorter timeframes through direct genetic intervention. This acceleration model contradicts observed evolutionary patterns that show gradual adaptation to environmental pressures rather than directed species modification. The religious framework connections provide psychological appeal for audiences seeking alternatives to traditional creation stories. The Elohim narrative echoes biblical accounts where higher beings create humans for specific purposes while maintaining evolutionary science language. This hybrid approach attempts to satisfy both religious and scientific worldviews by proposing external creation through technological means. The story positions aliens as godlike figures who shape human development through advanced knowledge rather than divine power. The convenient positioning of reptilians as passive observers rather than active participants protects them from creator responsibility. Lerta describes her species watching the Elohim experiments without intervening, establishing reptilians as witnesses rather than oppressors. This positioning creates moral distance between reptilians and human slavery while maintaining their superior knowledge claims. The narrative suggests reptilians possessed advanced understanding of genetics, but chose non-interference, making them knowledgeable observers rather than complicit participants. The psychological appeal of external creation explanations addresses human desires for purpose and meaning in existence. Natural evolution suggests humans developed randomly through environmental pressures without predetermined goals. The Elohim narrative provides intentional creation with specific purposes, making human existence meaningful through alien design. This external explanation satisfies psychological needs for significance, while avoiding responsibility for human nature's darker aspects by attributing them to alien programming. The human technological progress explanation attributes advancement to genetic programming rather than natural innovation. The files suggest the Elohim embedded technological capabilities into human genetics that activate during specific developmental periods. This explanation accounts for rapid human advancement during the last few millennia, while ignoring cumulative knowledge development through cultural transmission. The narrative treats human achievement as alien gift activation, rather than earned intellectual progress. The modern DNA understanding reveals the impossibility of the described genetic modifications. Human genetics involve complex interactions between thousands of genes that affect multiple traits simultaneously. The Elohim interventions would require understanding of genetic networks that exceed current human knowledge while using technology that doesn't exist. The narrative assumes genetic engineering operates like simple programming rather than complex biological systems with unpredictable interactions. The slave race mythology connects to contemporary fears about human autonomy and control. The story suggests humans lack true free will because alien programming determines behavior patterns and technological development. This framework provides explanations for human conflicts and achievements while removing personal responsibility for actions. The narrative transforms human agency into alien influence, making individuals victims of genetic programming rather than autonomous decision-makers. The verification impossibility ensures the narrative's survival across scientific advancement. The 1.5 million year timeline prevents direct investigation while maintaining theoretical possibility for advanced civilizations. Genetic evidence becomes the primary verification method, but the narrative explains evidence absence through technological sophistication rather than fictional construction. The story exists in a verification dead zone where neither proof nor disproof remains possible. These elaborate creation myths establish the foundation for Lerta's most technically detailed claims about the advanced machinery and vessels that these various alien species supposedly use to navigate between worlds and maintain their hidden operations on Earth. UFO technology and craft descriptions. Lerta's spacecraft descriptions read like a technical manual for interdimensional travel, complete with specifications that sound impressive until you examine them closely. She describes reptilian craft as metallic and bright gray with cigar-shaped designs ranging from 20 to 260 meters in length. These vessels emit a deep humming sound and feature 5 bright red lights positioned at specific locations, 1 at the top, 1 in the middle, and 2 at the ends. The lighting configuration creates distinctive identification markers that supposedly distinguish reptilian craft from other species' vessels. The size range suggests different craft categories serving various functions, from small reconnaissance vehicles to massive transport ships. The propulsion system explanations venture into fictional physics territory while maintaining scientific language. Lerta claims these craft utilize magnetic field manipulation combined with copper-based technology to achieve anti-gravity effects. The vessels supposedly generate electromagnetic fields that interact with planetary magnetic systems, allowing them to hover silently and move at impossible speeds. The copper components play crucial roles in field generation, connecting to the earlier claims about copper's importance in advanced technology. These propulsion descriptions attempt to explain observed UFO characteristics like silent operation and rapid acceleration, while avoiding specific technical details that might expose scientific impossibilities. The categorization system attempts to organize all UFO phenomena under different species origins, creating false expertise through classification schemes. According to the files, cylindrical craft with red lights belong to reptilians, disc-shaped vessels represent alien species operations, and triangular craft indicate human military projects using foreign technology. This taxonomy provides explanations for diverse UFO sighting reports while maintaining species-specific technological signatures. The system suggests each species develop distinct design preferences and capabilities, creating identifiable patterns that trained observers could recognize. The strategic locations mentioned for reptilian operations carry significant geopolitical implications that the narrative exploits effectively. Arctic regions receive particular attention as operational areas where cylindrical craft appear most frequently. These remote locations provide logical operational bases that avoid human population centers while maintaining access to strategic resources. The Arctic positioning connects to contemporary concerns about resource extraction, territorial disputes, and military activities in polar regions. The files suggest reptilian interest in these areas relates to mineral resources and isolation rather than geopolitical control. The camouflage technology descriptions provide convenient explanations for why reptilian craft remain largely undetected despite their alleged presence. Lerta claims each vessel contains a powerful device inside each craft to send an artificial signal to human minds, making them see either nothing or normal aircraft instead of their ships. This mind manipulation technology explains the absence of clear photographic evidence while maintaining operational security for reptilian activities. The device supposedly works by directly affecting human perception rather than physical concealment, suggesting neurological manipulation capabilities that exceed known technology. The copper-based technology claims connect spacecraft propulsion to the resource conflicts described in earlier sections. Lerta emphasizes copper's importance for advanced species because it enables element transformation through electromagnetic field manipulation. The propulsion systems supposedly require copper components for field generation, creating technological dependencies that explain species conflicts over resource acquisition. These claims ignore copper's actual properties and limitations in electromagnetic applications, creating fictional metallurgy that sounds sophisticated but lacks scientific foundation. The hiding methods extend beyond perception manipulation to include physical concealment techniques. The files mention special methods for hiding craft that don't rely entirely on mind control technology. These alternative concealment systems supposedly include optical camouflage, electromagnetic shielding, and dimensional shifting capabilities that place vessels partially outside normal spacetime. The multiple hiding options provide backup explanations for detection failures while suggesting technological sophistication that exceeds single-method approaches. The symbolic identification system adds cultural authenticity to the technological descriptions while providing warning mechanisms. The reptilian symbol appears as a blue serpent with 4 white wings on a black background and a dragon in a circle with 7 white stars. These symbols supposedly appear on cylindrical craft and underground installations, serving as territorial markers and warning signs. The dragon circle represents Earth's shape, while the 7 stars symbolize the Moon, Mars, Venus, and 4 moons of Jupiter and Saturn, representing former reptilian colonies. The symbolic system suggests complex cultural development and historical expansion throughout the solar system. The physics violations become apparent when examining the described propulsion systems against known scientific principles. Anti-gravity effects require energy sources that exceed known power generation capabilities. Electromagnetic field manipulation on the described scale would create detectable signatures that monitoring systems would identify. The copper-based technology claims contradict known electromagnetic properties and limitations. The silent operation requirements violate aerodynamic principles that govern atmospheric flight. These physical impossibilities reveal fictional construction rather than advanced technology descriptions. The engineering limitations expose the narrative's ignorance of practical spacecraft design requirements. The size ranges described would require enormous structural integrity solutions for atmospheric operation. The power requirements for electromagnetic propulsion would demand energy sources that would be detectable from orbit. The materials needed for the described capabilities don't exist with known properties. The manufacturing requirements would exceed any known industrial capacity. The convenient explanations for detection failures transform evidence absence into narrative support. The camouflage technology explains why clear photographs remain unavailable. The selective operational patterns justify rare sightings. The strategic location choices account for limited witness encounters. The perception manipulation capabilities excuse contradictory witness accounts. These explanations create perfect investigative immunity while maintaining technological superiority claims through unverifiable advanced capabilities. These elaborate technological claims serve as foundation for even more audacious assertions about how reptilian symbols and cultural markers connect to humanity's oldest religious and mythological connections. Sacred texts. The dragon symbols and serpent imagery that Lerta describes connect her species to humanity's oldest spiritual traditions through calculated reinterpretation. She claims the Christian portrayal of serpents as evil represents fundamental misunderstanding of her species' true role in human history. The Garden of Eden serpent wasn't a demonic tempter, but a reptilian observer documenting alien genetic experiments on early humans. This reinterpretation flips millennia of theological interpretation by positioning reptilians as truth-bearers rather than deceivers. The files state that Christian religion fundamentally misunderstood reptilians' role in human creation, leading to their portrayal as evil serpents in religious writings. The ancient civilization worship claims extend across multiple cultures with remarkable consistency. Egyptian hieroglyphs supposedly contain reptilian references that mainstream archaeology ignores or misinterprets. The serpent deities found in Egyptian temples weren't mythological symbols, but historical records of reptilian contact with human civilizations. Incan architecture allegedly includes reptilian motifs that reflect direct interaction with her species during their surface contact periods. These civilizations didn't worship abstract serpent concepts, but actual reptilian beings who appeared periodically to monitor human development and provide limited guidance. The symbolic significance receives detailed explanation through two primary reptilian emblems. The primary symbol represents a blue serpent with 4 white wings on a black background, with colors holding religious significance. This symbol was used by certain parts of their society, but is rarely used today. The second symbol appears more commonly as a dragon in a circle with 7 white stars in the middle. This symbol often appears on their cylindrical craft and underground installations, serving as key identifier for reptilian presence. The dragon circle represents Earth's shape, while the 7 stars symbolize former reptilian colonies on the Moon, Mars, Venus, and 4 moons of Jupiter and Saturn. The archaeological evidence problems become apparent when examining actual historical records versus reptilian reinterpretations. Egyptian texts describe symbolic serpents representing wisdom, protection, and divine power, rather than literal reptilian beings. The Uraeus cobra symbol appears throughout Egyptian art as religious iconography, not historical documentation of reptilian contact. Incan serpent motifs reflect cultural symbolism related to earth, fertility, and spiritual transformation, rather than alien encounter records. The narrative cherry-picks compatible symbols while ignoring contradictory archaeological evidence that supports conventional interpretations. The misunderstood beings positioning attempts to rehabilitate reptilian reputation through victimization narratives. Lerta claims her species faced systematic demonization by human religions that couldn't comprehend their true nature. The evil serpent portrayal resulted from human fear and misunderstanding rather than actual reptilian malevolence. This victim narrative transforms reptilians from threatening invaders into persecuted indigenous inhabitants who suffered from human religious prejudice. The positioning creates sympathy for reptilian species while explaining negative portrayals in human cultures. The theological debate connections tap into existing religious controversies about biblical interpretation and historical accuracy. Alternative biblical scholars have questioned traditional interpretations for centuries, creating intellectual frameworks that reptilian narratives can exploit. The ancient astronaut theories popularized by authors like Erich von Däniken prepared audiences for extraterrestrial involvement in human religious development. The files connect to these established alternative interpretations while adding reptilian perspectives that address unexplained elements in religious texts. The psychological appeal of hidden religious truths addresses fundamental human desires for secret knowledge and spiritual significance. Traditional religious interpretations often leave questions unanswered about human origins, divine intervention, and supernatural phenomena. The reptilian reinterpretations provide comprehensive explanations that address these gaps while maintaining religious language and symbolism. The narrative satisfies psychological needs for complete understanding while positioning believers as possessors of exclusive truth that mainstream religions suppress or misunderstand. The selective symbol interpretation reveals the narrative's manipulation of cultural evidence to support predetermined conclusions. Serpent symbolism appears across human cultures worldwide, reflecting universal psychological associations with transformation, wisdom, and power. The files ignore cultural contexts that explain these symbols through human psychological development rather than alien contact. The reptilian interpretation treats diverse cultural symbols as unified evidence of species presence, rather than independent psychological phenomena. The religious establishment criticism creates false opposition between traditional theology and reptilian truth claims. The narrative positions mainstream religious institutions as suppressors of reptilian knowledge who maintain power through ignorance and deception. This opposition framework makes reptilian beliefs appear revolutionary and threatening to established authority. The criticism exploits existing anti-institutional sentiments while providing alternative spiritual explanations that seem more comprehensive than traditional religious teachings. The ancient text accessibility problems expose the narrative's reliance on interpretive authority rather than verifiable evidence. Most ancient texts require specialized linguistic knowledge and historical context to interpret accurately. The files assume reptilian interpretations without providing scholarly analysis or comparative textual studies. This approach creates false expertise through confident assertion while avoiding academic scrutiny that might expose interpretive errors or selective evidence usage. The verification impossibility ensures the religious interpretation's survival across theological challenges. Ancient texts allow multiple interpretations depending on translation choices, cultural context, and scholarly methodology. The reptilian readings exploit this interpretive flexibility while claiming exclusive access to hidden meanings. The approach creates perfect investigative immunity because any contradictory evidence can be dismissed as mainstream misinterpretation rather than reptilian error. The religious angle provides comprehensive explanations for complex theological questions while avoiding detailed analysis. The reptilian framework addresses human origins, divine intervention, supernatural phenomena, and moral questions through unified alien contact theory. This comprehensive approach satisfies psychological needs for complete understanding while maintaining religious language that feels familiar to believers. These religious connections create false legitimacy through ancient text validation, while exploiting existing theological debates. But their true power lies in how they fulfill deeper human psychological needs that go far beyond simple belief in alternative history. Psychological and social factors behind belief. Understanding these psychological mechanisms reveals why rational arguments fail to change reptilian beliefs. People don't embrace these theories because evidence convinces them. They believe because the narrative fulfills deep emotional requirements that mainstream explanations ignore. The document provides simple answers to complex questions about power, control, and human suffering. When someone loses their job, struggles with depression, or watches political corruption on the news, blaming hidden reptilian controllers feels more satisfying than accepting the random chaos of existence. The files offer external explanations for internal pain, transforming personal failures into cosmic conflicts between good and evil forces. The complexity creates false credibility through information overload that exhausts critical thinking. The document spans 50 pages with detailed biological descriptions, historical timelines, and technical specifications. Most readers encounter more information than they can process or verify. The overwhelming detail suggests expertise that fabricators supposedly could not achieve. People assume that someone creating fiction would not include such elaborate specifics about underground cities, ancient wars, and reptilian physiology. The complexity makes questioning individual elements feel impossible because each detail connects to dozens of others. The information density creates cognitive burden that pushes readers toward acceptance rather than analysis. Community belonging plays a crucial role in sustaining reptilian beliefs across decades of scientific contradiction. Believers join online forums, attend conferences, and form social networks centered around shared reptilian knowledge. These communities provide acceptance, validation, and friendship that many members struggle to find elsewhere. Questioning reptilian theories means risking social isolation from groups that provide emotional support and identity. The community aspect makes leaving reptilian beliefs feel like abandoning family rather than changing opinions. Members protect each other from outside criticism while reinforcing shared beliefs through constant discussion and mutual validation. Confirmation bias operates systematically to support reptilian beliefs while filtering contradictory evidence. Believers interpret ambiguous events as reptilian confirmation, while dismissing clear contradictions as disinformation or cover-ups. A politician's odd behavior becomes evidence of reptilian shapeshifting. Archaeological discoveries that contradict reptilian claims get explained as establishment suppression of truth. The bias creates self-reinforcing belief systems where any evidence can support reptilian theories while nothing can disprove them. Believers develop sophisticated filtering mechanisms that protect cherished beliefs from rational challenge. The appeal of secret knowledge provides psychological rewards that mainstream information cannot match. Reptilian believers feel special because they possess hidden truths that ordinary people cannot access or understand. This exclusive knowledge creates superiority feelings that compensate for powerlessness in other life areas. The files position readers as enlightened insiders who see through deceptions that fool the masses. The secret knowledge provides identity and purpose that many people lack in their daily lives. Believing in reptilian conspiracies transforms passive victims into active truth seekers with important missions. The narrative provides external blame for complex problems that resist simple solutions. Economic inequality, political corruption, environmental destruction, and social conflict receive unified explanations through reptilian control theories. Rather than grappling with systemic issues that require difficult solutions, believers can focus anger on hidden reptilian manipulators. The external blame relieves personal responsibility while providing clear targets for frustration. Complex problems become manageable when attributed to specific villains rather than systemic failures or natural circumstances. Trauma connections may drive some reptilian beliefs through psychological mechanisms that research has identified. Early trauma, particularly experiences of humiliation and sexual abuse, can contribute to the development of overvalued ideas, which may lead to belief in conspiracy theories. The files describe reptilian controllers who manipulate and abuse humans in ways that might resonate with trauma survivors. The narrative provides frameworks for understanding past victimization through cosmic struggle narratives. Reptilian theories allow trauma survivors to externalize internal pain while maintaining victim identities that feel familiar and validated. The epistemic motives behind reptilian beliefs reflect fundamental human needs for understanding and certainty. The need for understanding, accuracy, and certainty drives people to conspiracy theories, which offer broad, internally consistent explanations. The files create comprehensive worldviews that address multiple questions through unified reptilian frameworks. Rather than accepting uncertainty about human origins, technological development, and social problems, believers embrace reptilian explanations that provide complete understanding. The theories protect cherished beliefs by casting contradictory evidence as conspiracy products. Social dynamics make certain populations more susceptible to reptilian narratives during periods of uncertainty or marginalization. These theories can be particularly appealing in environments with high mistrust in authorities, where they offer alternative narratives that resonate with individuals feeling marginalized or suspicious of mainstream accounts. The files appeared during Millennium Anxiety, when people questioned established institutions and feared technological change. The reptilian narrative provided alternative explanations that validated suspicions about authority while offering community among fellow believers. The existential motives reveal how reptilian theories address fundamental fears about control and security. The desire for control and security fuels belief in conspiracy theories. The files transform chaotic world events into planned reptilian operations that follow logical patterns. Rather than accepting random suffering and meaningless death, believers embrace narratives where hidden controllers orchestrate events for specific purposes. The reptilian framework makes existence feel more controllable by identifying clear enemies and structured conflicts. Emotional intelligence factors may explain why some people resist reptilian theories, while others embrace them completely. Individuals with higher emotional intelligence are less likely to believe in conspiracy theories, suggesting that emotional maturity may play a role in susceptibility. The files appeal to people who struggle with ambiguity and uncertainty in their emotional lives. Emotionally mature individuals handle complexity better and resist simplistic explanations that reptilian theories provide. These psychological factors create perfect conditions for reptilian belief persistence, despite contradictory evidence. The theories fulfill emotional needs that rational arguments cannot address. The community aspects provide social rewards that leaving beliefs would sacrifice. The complex interaction of these factors ensures reptilian theories survive across generations of believers who find meaning and purpose in the narrative structure. But the psychological appeal of these theories has evolved dramatically as the digital landscape itself has transformed in ways that would have been unimaginable when the files first appeared. Modern technology in 2025 context. The 2025 technology landscape creates perfect conditions for documents like the Lerta Files to thrive in ways that would have been impossible in 1999. Artificial intelligence and deepfake technology have fundamentally altered how we evaluate evidence and testimony. When anyone can generate convincing audio recordings, photorealistic images, and even video footage of fictional events, the absence of physical evidence becomes less damaging to extraordinary claims. The Swedish researchers' lack of recordings no longer seems suspicious because modern audiences understand that audio and video can be fabricated with consumer-grade software. This technological reality paradoxically makes anonymous text-based testimonies more credible than multimedia evidence, creating an environment where the Lerta Files format feels more authentic than it did 25 years ago. Data privacy concerns have transformed anonymous sources from suspicious figures into protected heroes. The 2025 digital landscape normalizes encrypted communications, anonymous file sharing, and identity protection in ways that make the Swedish researchers' secrecy seem prudent rather than evasive. Whistleblowers routinely leak sensitive information through secure channels while maintaining complete anonymity. Government surveillance programs have made privacy protection a mainstream concern rather than a conspiracy theory obsession. Modern audiences accept that someone revealing alien contact information would naturally protect their identity from potential retaliation. The privacy infrastructure that exists today makes the researcher's anonymity feel like smart operational security rather than evidence fabrication. Current UFO disclosure efforts create strange tensions with the secretive nature of the Lerta Files. The Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office released a congressionally mandated 2024 report that found no credible evidence of alien spacecraft or reverse engineering programs. Government transparency initiatives now provide official channels for reporting unidentified anomalous phenomena, complete with scientific analysis and public documentation. This official openness makes the underground nature of reptilian contact seem more dramatic and exclusive. While the government discusses metallic objects in restricted airspace, believers can claim access to far more detailed alien intelligence through hidden reptilian sources. The contrast between official UAP investigations and secret reptilian interviews creates a hierarchy where anonymous documents feel more valuable than government reports. Social media algorithms amplify reptilian conspiracy content with surgical precision, creating echo chambers that reinforce belief through constant exposure. The recommendation systems identify users interested in alternative theories and feed them increasingly extreme content. Someone watching videos about ancient civilizations gets recommended reptilian conspiracy content. A person researching government cover-ups receives suggestions for shape-shifting politician compilations. The algorithm creates pathways that lead curious viewers toward reptilian theories through gradual exposure rather than sudden immersion. These systems trap believers in information bubbles where contradictory evidence rarely appears while supporting content flows continuously. The 1999 internet culture that birthed the Lerta Files operated through simple forum posts and email distribution lists that required active seeking behavior. Users had to specifically search for conspiracy theory forums and manually download documents. The passive consumption model of 2025 delivers conspiracy content directly to users through personalized feeds and suggested videos. Modern platforms autoplay reptilian theory videos while users scroll through unrelated content. The reduced friction for accessing fringe information means the Lerta Files now reach audiences who never actively sought conspiracy theories. The document spreads through algorithmic suggestion rather than deliberate distribution, expanding its reach exponentially. Government transparency reports create ironic effects on belief in hidden reptilian civilizations. The National Archives and Records Administration established an unidentified anomalous phenomena records collection that makes previously classified UFO documents publicly available within 180 days. This official transparency makes government secrecy about reptilian contact seem more plausible by contrast. If the government releases information about metallic objects and military encounters, believers argue, why would they hide evidence of reptilian civilizations unless that information poses greater threats? The selective disclosure creates impression of deeper secrets that government agencies protect through compartmentalization and disinformation campaigns. Modern surveillance technology presents interesting challenges for underground civilization claims. Satellite imagery reaches resolution levels that can identify individual vehicles and building structures. Ground-penetrating radar systems map subsurface features with increasing accuracy. Seismic monitoring networks detect underground activities across vast geographical areas. However, these technological capabilities also provide explanations for why reptilian civilizations remain hidden. Advanced alien technology supposedly exceeds human detection capabilities through electromagnetic shielding, dimensional shifting, and perception manipulation. The technological arms race between human surveillance and claimed alien concealment creates perpetual stalemate where neither side can claim definitive victory. Contemporary scientific advances make the biological claims simultaneously more and less plausible, depending on interpretation frameworks. Genetic engineering capabilities have expanded dramatically since 1999, making species modifications seem more feasible. CRISPR technology allows precise DNA editing that could theoretically create the hybrid characteristics Lerta describes. However, increased understanding of evolutionary biology also exposes more impossibilities in reptilian physiology claims. The hair-bearing reptilian characteristics become more obviously fictional as genetic science explains mammalian follicle development. Advanced biology knowledge creates higher barriers for accepting impossible hybrid creatures, while lower barriers for accepting genetic manipulation possibilities. The catastrophic disclosure concept defined at the 2023 Seoul Foundation Conference suggests accidental disclosure of conclusive evidence of non-human intelligence outside government control. Simulations suggest that if non-human intelligence exists, catastrophic disclosure may happen relatively soon, with a mean expected year of 2040 under default assumptions. This timeline creates urgency around reptilian theories by suggesting that hidden alien presence will inevitably be revealed through technological accidents or deliberate exposure. The scientific discussion of disclosure scenarios legitimizes speculation about hidden alien civilizations while creating expectations that current secrecy cannot be maintained indefinitely. Modern technology creates perfect conditions for the Lerta Files to persist and proliferate across new generations of believers. The document exploits technological capabilities while avoiding technological verification. The 2025 context provides better explanations for evidence absence while creating more sophisticated distribution methods. The technological landscape transforms the files from static historical document into dynamic contemporary prophecy that adapts to current anxieties and capabilities. This technological evolution has allowed the document to transcend its original form post-origins and establish itself as something far more significant in conspiracy culture. The files spawned an entire generation of reptilian conspiracy theorists who treat the document like sacred scripture. 25 years after its initial forum posting, the files remain the foundational text that new believers discover first before exploring other reptilian materials. The document established narrative templates that countless subsequent conspiracy theories borrowed wholesale. The underground civilization concept, the ancient alien war explanations, and the genetic manipulation claims all originated or were refined in the files before appearing in derivative works. Modern reptilian conspiracy content rarely introduces truly original concepts, but instead remixes elements that the files popularized during the early internet era. The UFO community embraced the files as insider intelligence that mainstream researchers couldn't access or understand. The document provided detailed explanations for various UFO phenomena through species classification systems that organized sightings into reptilian, alien, and human military categories. This taxonomical approach influenced how UFO investigators analyze encounters, with many adopting the files methodology for identifying craft origins through design characteristics and operational patterns. Community discussions shifted from simple UFO documentation toward complex species interaction theories that position reptilians as one faction among multiple alien civilizations competing for Earth resources and human control. The narrative evolution demonstrates remarkable adaptability that keeps the files relevant across changing conspiracy theory trends. The original 1999 document focused on hidden underground civilizations and ancient history, but contemporary interpretations incorporate modern concerns about technology, surveillance, and global politics. Current believers connect reptilian theories to social media manipulation, artificial intelligence development, and cryptocurrency markets through frameworks that the files established. The biological claims evolved to accommodate genetic engineering advances, while the technological descriptions expanded to include internet infrastructure and digital consciousness transfer possibilities. The connection to broader ancient astronaut movements created synergistic relationships that amplified the files' influence beyond reptilian conspiracy circles. The document's claims about Elohim genetic engineering aligned perfectly with existing ancient astronaut theories, while adding reptilian perspectives that other researchers hadn't considered. The files provided missing puzzle pieces for alternative history researchers seeking comprehensive explanations for human technological advancement, religious development, and archaeological mysteries. This cross-pollination effect made the files essential reading for anyone exploring alternative theories about human origins and alien contact throughout history. Comparing the files to other influential conspiracy documents reveals its unique staying power through perfect unfalsifiability. The protocols of the learned elders of Zion faced historical debunking, that exposed its fictional origins and plagiarized content. The Majestic 12 documents encountered forensic analysis that revealed anachronistic terminology and fabricated signatures. The files avoid these vulnerabilities through systematic evidence elimination that makes verification impossible while maintaining narrative coherence. The anonymous source, missing recordings, and underground setting create investigative barriers that protect the document from definitive debunking, while allowing believers to claim authenticity through evidence absence. The recruitment mechanism operates through graduated exposure that introduces new believers through seemingly credible entry points. Curious individuals encounter the files through searches for ancient history, archaeological mysteries, or UFO encounters, rather than direct conspiracy theory seeking. The document's scientific language and extensive detail create initial credibility that hooks readers before introducing more extreme claims. The progression from biological descriptions to underground civilizations to ancient alien wars follows logical sequences that build acceptance incrementally. New believers often describe discovering the files as revelation experiences that explained previously confusing aspects of human history and current events. Translation and interpretation played crucial roles in spreading the narrative across linguistic and cultural boundaries. Christian Filer's English translation introduced the files to global audiences who couldn't access the original Swedish text. Subsequent translations into Spanish, French, German, and other languages created international reptilian conspiracy communities that developed regional variations while maintaining core narrative elements. The translation process inevitably introduced interpretive choices that shaped how different cultures understood reptilian claims. Language barriers actually protected the files from detailed analysis, since most readers couldn't examine original source material for inconsistencies or fabrication evidence. The foundation text status created hierarchical authority structures within reptilian conspiracy subcultures. Longtime believers who possess detailed files knowledge occupy respected positions within online communities and convention circuits. Newcomers must demonstrate familiarity with Lerta's claims before gaining acceptance among established believers. The document serves as required reading that establishes basic vocabulary and conceptual frameworks for more advanced reptilian theories. This educational function creates institutional stability that ensures continued files relevance as new generations of conspiracy theorists discover reptilian concepts through established community structures. Commercial aspects of reptilian conspiracy culture generate significant revenue streams that financially incentivize files promotion and derivative content creation. Authors write books expanding on themes the files introduced, earning royalties from believers seeking additional reptilian information. Conference organizers feature speakers who reference files concepts, charging admission fees for audiences wanting insider knowledge. Online content creators produce videos analyzing files sections, generating advertising revenue from conspiracy theory audiences. The monetization creates economic ecosystems that depend on maintaining files' credibility and relevance, ensuring continued promotion across commercial conspiracy theory networks. The broader cultural penetration extends beyond conspiracy theory communities into mainstream popular culture that references reptilian concepts without acknowledging their origins. Television shows incorporate shape-shifting reptilian characters that borrow directly from files descriptions. Science fiction novels feature underground civilizations with characteristics that mirror Lerta's claims. Video games include reptilian antagonists with motivations and capabilities that echo files' narratives. This cultural osmosis occurs through indirect reference rather than direct citation, creating familiarity with reptilian concepts among audiences who never read the original document. The files represent evolutionary advancement in conspiracy theory construction that learned from previous failures while avoiding common debunking vulnerabilities. The document eliminates physical evidence requirements that exposed other hoaxes while maintaining narrative sophistication that simple fabrications lacked. The psychological manipulation techniques operate subtly through information overload and confirmation bias exploitation, rather than obvious persuasion attempts. The unfalsifiable claims protect against scientific debunking, while the anonymous source prevents credibility challenges. The 25-year survival period demonstrates remarkable resilience that few conspiracy theories achieve without substantial evidence support. The files weathered scientific advancement, internet evolution, and changing conspiracy theory trends, while maintaining devoted followings across multiple generations. The document's influence shaped entire subcultures that continue growing despite mainstream rejection and skeptical analysis. This enduring appeal reveals something profound about human psychology that transcends simple belief in alternative history or alien contact. The Lerta Files endure not for credible proof, but because they fill a human craving for order, purpose, and hidden knowledge that facts alone can't satisfy. The document succeeds not through evidence, but through psychological satisfaction. It transforms random chaos into organized conspiracy, personal powerlessness into cosmic significance, and human limitations into alien manipulation. The files reveal our deep need for meaning that transcends mundane reality. While experts suggest that critical thinking skills and the ability to differentiate between reliable and unreliable sources of information are crucial in navigating the complex landscape of misinformation and conspiracy theories, we must acknowledge our need for narrative while demanding verifiable evidence. If you found this exploration thought-provoking, let me know your thoughts below.